The Intergalactic Academy's xenobiology classroom buzzed with nervous energy as Professor Zethkari announced the day's demonstration. Representatives from 12 different species had brought their most fearsome war beasts to showcase the pinnacle of military evolution across their respective worlds. Marcus Chen sat in the back row, the only human among his classmates. At 19, he was still adjusting to life at the academy, where beings from across the galaxy came to study together. His presence had initially caused quite a stir. Humans were relatively new to the galactic community, having only achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. Today, Professor Zethkari's forearms gestured dramatically. We shall witness the apex predators that have shaped warfare across our civilizations. Remember, maintain your distance. These creatures are bred for one purpose: destruction. The first demonstration came from the Vorthak Dominion. Their representative, a towering insectoid named Klisk, led a creature that resembled a cross between a rhinoceros and a tank. The Gorthak Warhorn stood 8 feet tall, its armored hide gleaming under the classroom lights. Bone spikes protruded from its shoulders and its eyes glowed with bioluminescent fury. The Gorthak, Klisk clicked proudly, can charge through reinforced steel walls. Its horn has pierced the hull of battleships. 3 of these beasts conquered the moon of Xeris Prime. The class murmured in appreciation, maintaining a respectful distance as the creatures snorted and pawed the ground with hooves that could crush stone. Next came the Ethereal Collective's contribution, a writhing mass of tentacles and teeth called a Void Strangler. It floated in a containment field, its translucent body pulsing with energy that could drain the life force from any living thing within 50 meters. Beautiful, whispered Naya, a Centaurian student sitting near Marcus. And absolutely terrifying. The demonstrations continued. The Draconic Empire presented their flame salamander, a creature that could survive in the vacuum of space and melt through ship hulls with its acidic saliva. The Hive Confederation showed their Swarm Queen, a beetle-like entity that could spawn thousands of warrior drones in minutes. Each creature was more intimidating than the last. Razor-sharp claws, venomous fangs, armored hides that could deflect, plasma rounds, telepathic abilities that could drive enemies insane. The galaxy's war beasts were truly the stuff of nightmares. Finally, it was the Zephyrian Republic's turn. Their representative, an elegant being with crystalline skin, guided forward what appeared to be their ultimate creation, the Shadow Maw. Standing 12 feet tall on 6 legs, the Shadow Maw was a creature of living darkness. Its form seemed to absorb light itself, making it difficult to look at directly. When it moved, reality seemed to bend around it. Its mouth opened to reveal rows of teeth that existed in multiple dimensions simultaneously. The Shadow Maw, the Zephyrian announced with pride, can phase through solid matter, manipulate space-time, and has never been defeated in battle. It is the perfect killing machine. The classroom fell silent. Even the other war beasts seemed to recoil from the Shadow Maw's presence. Students pressed themselves against the walls, some of the more sensitive species beginning to show signs of distress. That's when Marcus stood up. Fascinating, he said, pulling out his tablet to take notes. What's its emotional range like? The Zephyrian blinked, or what passed for blinking with crystal eyes. Emotional war range? Yeah, Marcus said, walking casually toward the creatures. Several students gasped. I mean, you've got all this incredible destructive capability, but what about their psychological needs? Social structure. Do they play? Play? Professor Zethkari's voice cracked. Mr. Chen, these are instruments of war, not... Marcus had reached the Gorthak Warhorn. Without hesitation, he extended his hand toward the massive creature. The classroom held its collective breath. The Warhorn sniffed his hand, then, to everyone's amazement, lowered its massive head. Marcus began, scratching behind what might charitably be called its ears. Good boy, he murmured. You're just a big softy, aren't you? The creature's eyes stopped glowing. It made a sound suspiciously like purring. Marcus moved to the next beast. The Void Strangler's tentacles, which had been writhing menacingly, suddenly became still as Marcus approached. He held out his hand to the containment field's edge. "Hey there, beautiful," he said softly. "You're not so scary. Just misunderstood, right?" The Void Strangler's bioluminescent patterns shifted from angry reds to curious blues and greens. One by one, Marcus approached each warbeast. The flame salamander nuzzled his shoulder. The Swarm Queen's drones began arranging themselves in playful patterns around his feet. The creatures that had terrified an entire classroom of Galactic students were now vying for his attention like oversized puppies. Finally, he approached the Shadow Maw. The creature of living darkness regarded him with what might have been curiosity. Reality warped around it as Marcus stepped closer. "You're the loneliest one, aren't you?" Marcus said quietly. "Hard to make friends when you exist partially outside normal space-time." He reached out his hand. For a moment nothing happened. Then slowly, the Shadow Maw extended something that might have been a limb from multiple dimensions. When it touched Marcus's hand, the room filled with a sound like cosmic wind chimes. The Shadow Maw's form stabilized, becoming less reality-bending, and more simply a very large, very strange-looking creature. It leaned into Marcus's touch with what could only be described as contentment. The classroom was dead silent. Professor Zethkari was the first to speak. How did you?" Marcus shrugged, still petting the dimensional apex predator. "Back! On Earth, we have a saying, there are no bad dogs, only bad owners. I guess the same applies to war beasts." He looked around at the stunned faces. "You've all created these amazing creatures for fighting, but you forgot they're still living beings with emotional needs." The Zephyrian representative stared at his supposedly unstoppable killing machine, now happily receiving belly rubs from a human teenager. "But they're engineered for warfare," Klisk protested weakly. "So were humans, technically," Marcus replied. "Evolution made us persistence hunters and tribal warriors, but we also learned to love, to play, to form bonds across species." Titan gestured to the creatures around him, now a surprisingly peaceful menagerie. "Maybe the real question isn't how to make the perfect weapon, but how to make the perfect companion." As the class ended and the various representatives attempted to coax their now docile war beasts back to their transport carriers, Professor Zethkari approached Marcus. "That was unprecedented," the professor admitted. "How did you know it? Would work?" Marcus smiled, watching as the Shadow Maw playfully phased in and out of reality, clearly showing off for his benefit. "On Earth, we have millions of species. We learned that understanding and empathy usually work better than fear and force. Besides," he added with a grin, "everything wants to be loved, even cosmic horror creatures." From that day forward, the Intergalactic Academy's xenobiology curriculum included a new mandatory course: Interspecies Emotional Intelligence, taught by a young human who had proven that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe wasn't destruction, it was compassion. And the Shadow Maw never did return to military service. It spent its retirement happily existing across multiple dimensions in Marcus's dorm room, occasionally helping him with his interdimensional physics homework.